Welcome to this week's Ask GCN Anything. And this week's hot topics are how to make a transition into racing, how to make time efficient all your training, and how to improve your muscular endurance.
If you want to have your question featured on the show, use the hashtag talkback. But to be in with the chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, use the hashtag Ask GCN Training.
Yeah, we do love hearing from you in the comment section below. Right, I reckon we should get straight into some questions. You ready, Chris?
Yes, I'm ready. Or use yours, shall we? John Bowler then, with guys, I love the show. I'm now, after 30-something years, starting to struggle with numb testicles within 30 minutes of riding. Is it my seat or do I need a bike fit? I can't hack the pain anymore.
Right, good question, John. And lots of people do suffer with this. But I would personally look at your saddle and your setup, because you could be sitting at a wrong part of the saddle, which then puts pressure on places, well, you don't want pressure. And I've had it before, but I have changed my saddle and that did make a really big difference. So probably look at that. And then if anything else does still happen, then we have got a video on how to get the perfect setup. So then, yeah, hopefully you don't carry on getting it.
No, certainly within 30 minutes you shouldn't be experiencing that sort of discomfort.
Now you could also try experimenting with a saddle that has a cutout down the middle or indeed some kind of channel. Now these are designed so that the majority of your body weight there is perched upon the 2 sit bones either side, as opposed to the soft tissue in the middle. This allows more blood flow through that critical area. And one more thing to consider is that women in general will have sit bones that sit slightly farther apart than men. But the good news is there are plenty of women-specific saddles on the market that take this into account.
And this week's Zwift winner is Steve H for this question. Hi guys, and good show. My question would be, after having a bad shoulder injury racing triathlon, I'm having a year out of racing and I'm just going to focus on my cycling fitness. I use Zwift for most of my training and I do at least 4-hour steady group rides and at least 1 Zwift race a week. What would you say, as the year progresses, would be good training tips for bike section on that 70.3 triathlon race?
Well, Steve, first off, we hope the recovery is going well.
We do.
And they can be quite slow to recover from, so make sure you look after it and don't push it too hard in the early days, because that's not going to help you. It's just going to set you back. But then once you are back on the bike properly and you're back out on the road building up your mileage, what you want to do is aim towards completing that race distance at the same intensity you're going to be doing on race days. So that's going to be the upper end of zone 3 ideally, and it will take you around 2.5-3 hours, I would imagine. I'm not a triathlon expert at all. Maybe Hank knows more than I do.
Yeah, and I mean, for that 70.3, you're looking at about 90-kilometer ride. So you want to be doing about 120 kilometers.
Yeah, that's a good length.
And making that 90 kilometers really hard.
Yeah, 120% of race distance is kind of the upper end of what you need to be doing, isn't it? 125%.
And then looking at your FTP. FTP we bang on a lot about, but it really will help you getting that bike section really fast. Yeah. So maybe doing some Zwift workouts to build that base and to build that FTP will really help you sustain that sustainable power. And
you want to do this in your race position. We should have mentioned that as well, because that's where you're going to be riding in on the day. So there's no point riding a sit-up bike and then all of a sudden racing in an aero position. But there is a triathlon channel.
Yeah, do go and check that out and you'll learn a lot more than we know about triathlon. Right, next question from Adrian Ricalde. Hey GCN, I've been riding for fun and fitness for a few years and I'm now interested in getting into racing. Well, we do like to hear that, yeah. Is there a specific Zwift workout that can help me identify my speciality? Sprinter, climber, etc. It's actually a problem I had. I didn't know if I was a sprinter, climber, time trialist. I was kind of jack of all trades, but you definitely found out what you were good at fairly quickly.
Yeah, and it wasn't climbing.
Yeah.
So we did a little digging and we couldn't find a specific Zwift workout, but it doesn't mean it's not there to identify your type of rider. However, the Sufferfest do something which does exactly that. They do, I think it is a 10-second sprint, a 5-minute max effort, a 20-minute max effort, and a 60-second max effort. And this will give you your rider profile. Obviously though, if you go and do them all on the same session, your numbers will be a little bit suppressed, but they use that for their own training algorithms to give you a training program. So if you want better numbers, do them on individual days or maybe even on individual weeks. It's good for your ego, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Rider profiling is something that's quite important, but ultimately if you ride in a group, you'll probably have a bit of an understanding as to what rider you are anyway.
Yeah, and let us know what rider you are.
Yeah.
It would be really interesting to know if you turn out to be a climber, sprinter, or just an all-rounder like me.
There's nothing wrong with being an all-rounder.
No, true. Next question from Bruno Cabaz. I'm almost 2 years without training hard. I did the occasional group ride and turbo session, but nothing that relevant. What GCN training sessions should I watch in order to get my fitness level back as it's, well, long gone?
Welcome back, Bruno.
Yeah, welcome back.
Great choice you've made.
Yep.
We recommend getting out on the road as soon as you can, because that's the way you're going to work out where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are. And when you know what your weaknesses are, type them into our search button on the channel on YouTube, and you'll come up with workouts which will help target that weakness and make it more of a strength.
Yeah, and I would build on that, Chris, because I think getting out into the open air will really do wonders. And especially as you kind of fall in love with cycling, because ultimately cycling takes you places. But also you can incorporate some really good sessions into that road ride. And behind us, we've got a video playing of some really good hard workouts that will build your fitness out on the road.
Well, Chris, you always want to build maximum muscle recruitment, don't you?
Always.
And you want to win bike races, don't you?
Not anymore.
Okay, so you want to win races to the cap.
Ah, no, that I do.
Yeah, and when included in a session or a short session, you can make it into a really good HIIT session.
Yeah, you can. And to do this, you want to start out in a fairly big gear, kind of the gear I'm in now, rolling at around 24 k's an hour, cadence 80 to 85. And then over the next 12 seconds, through a maximum exertion into the pedals, you want to build that up to 130 revs.
All right, mate, enough talking about it. I want to see you do it. Get them legs going. Hup, hup, hup.
Our ditch up next with, I'm going to the Haruna hill climb in Japan. 16 kilometers, does sound amazing. 16 kilometers, 1,000 meters of elevation gain. To enter, you need to put in a time. However, I've never done anything like this, so how do I guess a time?
First up, that's awesome. I'd never ridden in Japan, would really love to, but that climb does sound absolutely brutal. And but to answer your question, you can chuck in to a bike calculator and you'll be able to find out an estimated time if you put in your power profiles, your weight, and the distance and the kind of elevation of the climb. And it will pop out a number of an average speed that you should try and sit at and a time.
Yeah, it's not going to be a million miles off, so good luck with that. Next up then, Project Dandem.
Should I cycle when I'm sick with a cold, or should I wait?
Should definitely wait. You know, you could go out and ride your bike, you might not feel too bad, but chances are you're going to make it worse. Whereas if you just took 1 or 2 days off, you could recover completely and be back on your bike, and that saves potentially 2 weeks of proper illness.
Yeah, 100%. And I would really build on that, because it was probably the biggest part of advice that I got from a coach was to really rest, because I was always one who just wanted to jump straight on the back and could not miss any training. But really make sure you let your body recover, and then you'll come back a lot stronger.
Yeah, definitely. Daniel Robinson. I live in Geelong, Australia, and I ride the Carol Evans road race track every weekend and then just ride around 10 kilometers every other day. Is this enough training for 1 week?
I would say probably not. I know you're probably not wanting to hear that, but I would try and increase that a little bit more, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd try and get the 10 kilometres up to around 20 or 30 kilometres, but then also make sure you take 2 proper days off each week as well.
Yeah, remember, you can only get better and faster if you let your body recover and let you soak in all that good training. Next question is from Evan Rees. I've had an FTP below 200 for the 3 years I've been cycling. I've tried everything to improve it. I hover around 75 to 85 kilograms, depending on the season. Ride in all the zones, lots of 40-20s, and have developed muscles to disproportionate to the amount of power that I can put out. At least I look fast, which is half the battle, I guess. Yeah. Do I need to harden the effort up? Is it a health issue? Or will I always be slow? A bit like Ollie.
Harsh. Well, Evan, I can't rule out a health issue because I don't know you personally. I can't do any sort of assessment. But what I would say is longer, more sustainable efforts are going to help you. And I've just thought of something else actually. So 12 to 20 minute efforts, really high intensity, sort of the max duration to failure for those efforts. So as hard as you can possibly, max intensity to duration. So as hard as you can go for those efforts for that duration. And then work to around 30 to 40 minutes of workload in a single session. That will really give you a good boost over the 40-20s. Because whilst they are good, they are very on-off. And your body won't ever quite adapt to sustainable effort. Something else I was going to say though, and I feel it works really, really well if you're a rider that's trying loads of different stuff and you don't feel like you're progressing, is to actually set an intensity ceiling for 2 or 3 of the rides you do each week. And I've noticed this certainly since I've started riding less, but I'm trying to go harder all the time. It just doesn't work. Your muscles get tired. So I aim to stay well under 75% of like a sustainable effort on 2 or 3 rides a week. And you feel so much better because for once you're not going hard and just trying to bash out higher numbers or whatever it is that you're aiming for. And actually by doing that, you do get faster.
Yeah, and think about your nutrition, make sure you get enough sleep, all those other bits will help you bring on, and you won't be slow forever, trust me. As long as you put in the training, you'll get fast.
Yeah.
And we have actually got a training video of over and unders to help your FTP, which should help. So have a look at that, give it a go, and let us know how you get on in the comment section below.
Ten. 5. 1. Back down. Last 2 minutes. Keep concentrating. Just under. It's going to feel hard now.
Ankush Rao Laddock Diaries writes in with how to deal with saddle soreness.
Right, it comes down to 1, hygiene, 2, some really good pair of shorts. So make sure you get good shorts that have a really good chamois.
Yep.
And then saddle height and what else? Body position.
Body position, yep. And if all that fails, then a really good clean pin that you disinfect every single week, and a good squeeze with some tissue paper and antiseptic cleansing stuff.
Yeah. Or you could use something called Hibby Scrub. And Hibby Scrub is fantastic because it's actually what they use in hospitals. It's a really good disinfectant and it will really work. We've used it in the past as we've been racing, and when you're racing constantly, you know, these things can happen. So try that. And yeah, if all else fails, I would spend some time off the bike.
Yeah, that's probably good advice.
Yeah. Next question.
Dan the Sci-Fi Man.
Because of the nature of my work, I can realistically get out on rides at the weekend. At the moment, while a lot of riders, I train with getting out during the week. What's best to do during the week to make sure my fitness doesn't take dips during the week? I've tried several turbo retraining rides, but can't get motivated like being on the road to do them. Thanks. Yes, I think every cyclist out there will say that sometimes it is just hard to get motivated to ride the turbo.
Yeah, definitely. But just try and break it down a little bit into the week. So maybe the first week you do 1 session in the middle of the week because you know it's going to benefit you when you get out on the road at the weekend.
Yeah.
Then the next week, booming on the confidence from week 1, you'll try and do 2. So you could do some slightly longer efforts, nothing too crazy. Even just getting on the turbo trainer and doing some pedaling is going to make you feel a lot better at the weekend than if you did nothing.
Yes, and you can really make a 40-minute session go really fast.
Yeah.
Just set a few efforts, because efforts do actually make a ride on the turbo go really quickly. And or then kind of put it where you can put like a TV in front of you, make it a little bit more exciting. But ultimately, we as bike riders, we like being on the road.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good luck.
Next question from P. Rivet.
Hi guys, 2 questions. First, is there a way to save cut tyres? And second, how do you buy a used power meter? And how do you know if the power meter is accurate?
Right, first off, well, yes, you can, because you can buy a thing called a tyre boot. A tyre boot is a piece of like plastic, rubbery type thing.
Yeah, similar to a thick inner tube.
Yeah, basically. And you can stick that on the inside of your tyre, and that will be able to save your gash in your tyre. But ultimately, I wouldn't ride on that constantly. I would more likely use it to get home.
Yeah, exactly. Or as a spare in the winter, that sort of thing. On the second question though, when it comes to buying a second-hand power meter, it's a bit of a lottery. You may not end up with a good one. So what I would recommend is trying to find one that's very, very recently had a fresh service. So it's got a new battery and it's been weight tested, calibrated on the bench machines that they use at these places. And you want to make sure it's got a certificate that comes with that. Not all power meters or service centers offer this, but it's well worth the investment if you can find a place that has done that.
Yeah. Next question comes in from Florian Furman. Hey GCN, I'm 6 weeks and I'm off to Mallorca.
Nice.
I wish I was going.
You are in 6 weeks.
Oh yes, I am. Shoot, forgot about that. And I would like to train indoors to boost my performance and confidence for those longer rides on the island. I consider the 6-week FTP builder from Zwift or the TT tune-up. Which one would give the biggest gains? It seems that the TT tune-up is a little harder.
Well, I did a very quick look over both of those, and I actually think the FTP builder will offer you more variety and therefore potentially be more enjoyable. But if I was you, I would have another quick long look? That doesn't make any sense, does it? But anyway, another look over them and then choose the one that you find personally to be more appealing because you're more likely to stick with it that way.
Yeah, and then just stick with it, and in 6 weeks you'll be flying around the island. I promise you that.
Might see you out there.
Yep. Right, Chris, I'm afraid that concludes this week's Ask GCN Anything. And don't forget, if you'd love to get in on next week's show, then to use the hashtag talkback.
And if you would like to be in with a chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, don't forget to use the hashtag AskGCNTraining.
Yes, and if you haven't seen this video already, then why don't you check out this one that Cy did, and you did actually.
Yeah, they're not fashion items, they are in fact measuring devices.
Yeah, for mental health, which is a really important issue, and I think it's a really good video.